Good morning, Facebook. Cvpoolpros here. Tammy and Gary, what is going on? Your favorite pool guru idiots. What's happening?
What's up?
Alright, so another pool school video will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. We're actually live on YouTube channel right now, along with our Facebook channel. Our Facebook page. Facebook page is at Cvpoolpros. YouTube channel is Cvpoolpros16. Like and subscribe to both. That way you get notified when we're live and you get notified when we upload new videos. What's going on, everybody? All right, so
It's Friday.
All right, so the different types of shock. Now, let me start by saying we're talking about chlorine shock. We're talking about chlorine situations, chlorine sanitizer. And
So
one
pay
of these.
attention. This is going to be a shocking experience.
Stop it. One thing I will say is you're going to be surprised by one of the excuse me, one of the products that I'm telling you about. But I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you about it. A lot of pool companies don't know this. All right.
Here,
So
I have a bag of shock
no, it
pads.
doesn't matter. So there's three different kinds of chlorine shock. Okay. One is regular granular chlorine shock, Cal Hypo. Okay. Comes in a bucket, comes in a bag. You can get different size pails of it with a scoop, or you get bags. Now, what I will tell you about that, every one bag equals 1 pound. For every 1 pound of shock, every 1 pound bag of shock treats 10,000 gallons of water. Okay? Trying to figure out how much you need to go by your gallonage. At least you know. Every 1 bag of shock, any kind of shock, any 1 bag of chlorine shock, and 1 gallon of liquid chlorine, they're the same. They both treat 10,000 gallons of pool water. That's the start. So there's your first little tidbit of information, okay? Which is very important that you know. Now, the different types of shock. So I already mentioned 2 of them. Liquid chlorine. Liquid chlorine is good to use for all your shocking if you want to keep that around. It's excellent. Because you don't even have to have the pool running, you just dump it in and it mixes right into the water. We don't have it around, and I'm going to tell you why. We use it for openings, closings, and green and cleans to get pools cleaned up. We use granular bags, that's why you saw us with a bag. We use granular bags for services, which are cleanings, because we can fit a whole bunch of bags in here. They don't take up a lot of room. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I would use liquid. But we just don't have enough room to carry all these gallon jugs of liquid, or even 5-gallon carboys of liquid. It's too much of a hassle, because you don't always need a gallon. You don't always need a pound. Usually, we'll use a pound, or we'll use a gallon, but the jugs are not small, and it takes up room in the van. So that's why we use shock bags. They just take up less room. When you put shock in any pool, regular Cal Hypo shock, be sure to brush it into the water or mix it in a bucket, turn it into basically liquid chlorine, then cascade it into the pool. Okay, now, getting past all that. Liquid chlorine, Cal Hypo granular shock. What's the third? What is it? Non-chlorine shock. Yes, you heard that correctly. Non-chlorine shock. Now that sounds like a total oxymoron, doesn't it? But it actually has a place. So let me tell you what non-chlorine shock does, and then you'll understand its use. you'll also understand why they sell it as vinyl liner pool shock. I do not agree with telling people that. What I agree with telling people is why you're using that particular shock. It has nothing to do with vinyl liner. It does, but it doesn't. So the reason they sell it to you for vinyl liner is because they say, I don't agree with this at all. They say you can throw it into the pool and you don't have to brush. First of all, I don't agree with that to begin with. I would always brush no matter what.
It's a powder. Why would you not brush?
Well, because there's no chlorine in it.
Yeah,
so
but
it's
still,
not going to bleach the liner. But
how long is that shit?
the problem is there's no chlorine in it.
Get out of the way. Get out of the road. Get out of the road.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Get out of the road, you dumb bird.
Yeah, that really did a whole lot. I'm sure that bird
It did.
turned around and gave you the bird finger.
It did.
So the problem with non-chlorine shock is there's no chlorine in it. But let me tell you what the use for it really is. Once I tell you this, you're going to completely understand how to use non-chlorine shock, and you might even want to start using it when I tell you this. Okay. There's 2 different chlorine readings in every pool. There's total chlorine and there's free chlorine. Now, I do go over this in another video. It's the chlorine versus salt video. Check that video out if you use salt in your pool or you're thinking about using salt in your pool. I do not recommend salt, and I tell you why in that other video. But I do go over this in another video. I'm doing this one because not everybody has salt. They're not going to watch that video. So, besides, this is more direct. So, 2 different readings. Total chlorine, free chlorine. What's the difference? There's your difference. There's your reading.
It's on this bottle.
Okay? Total chlorine, free chlorine. Free chlorine is kind of obvious. The textbook definition in the pool industry of free chlorine is the total amount of chlorine in a pool that is available to attach to a contaminant.
That's able to sanitize.
That's able to attach to, able to sanitize. That's basically the textbook definition. So what the hell is total chlorine? When I tell you what total chlorine is, and then I tell you about chlorine-free shock, it's going to put the 2 together. Ready? Total chlorine, textbook definition, is the total amount of chlorine in a swimming pool, both attached to a contaminant and available to attach to a contaminant. Now, what do we call chlorine? Why don't you go out a little? Why don't you go through the intersection? Fucking idiot. What do you call chlorine that is already attached to a contaminant that can no longer clean the pool? What do we call that? We call those chloramines. Some call it dead chlorine. Some people in the industry call it dead chlorine, which to an extent, yeah, I can see where they get that. It's not available. It's already attached to a contaminant. Okay, it's not available to clean anymore or to sanitize anymore. So what you have though is you have free chlorine locked up in that total. It's not doing anything. It's just locked up in the total. How do you get rid of that issue? Enter non-chlorine shock. Non-chlorine shock, when you put it in the pool, activates the free chlorine that is caught up in the total, pulls it back to free and activates it, but doesn't add to it. Let me explain. For ease of numbers, let's just say you have a total chlorine reading of 20. You have a free chlorine reading of 0. You put the chlorine-free or non-chlorine shock in the pool. What that's going to do, it's going to take let's say it's 10 parts per million of each. 10 parts per million of free, 10 parts per million of total, which gives you a reading of 20. It's going to take the 10 parts per million of the free chlorine out of the total reading, bring it back to free, and activate it for use, but it's only going to be 10 parts per million because it's not going to add to that 10. So it's not going to make it 15, it's not going to make it 20. It's just going to bring that 10 back to active. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what non-chlorine is actually for. I learned that from a guy by the name of Pud that I worked for. That was his nickname. Never knew his real name, actually. One of the most intelligent pool guys I have ever worked for. He taught me that. He taught me what non-chlorine shock was for. Now, the reason they sell it for vinyl liner pools is because you can throw it in, as I said, you can throw it in and not have to brush. I don't agree with that. And everybody sells it like, oh, here's the non-chlorine stuff. My argument to that was, if it's non-chlorine, this was my argument before I knew what it was. If it's non-chlorine, how's it doing anything? What it's doing is it's feeding on the chlorine that is on the free chlorine that's locked up in the total, and it's reactivating it. So it does have a purpose. Now, this is what I would say. If you don't want a ridiculously high total chlorine level because you're wasting chlorine. So my recommendation would be have a case of each. And when your total chlorine is high, you have to test your water. I would use the test strips because they give you your total chlorine reading. This is where test strips come in handy, and liquids suck. One of the places liquids suck. I hate the liquids. I will never tell you to use the liquids. Liquids are, as a matter of fact, we're gonna do a video on that too. Eventually. Liquids are very inconsistent. And I know guys call me 1 year ago, proven to me by the same guy, as a matter of fact, that the liquids suck. These test strips are way more accurate and a lot faster to get the test done. Way better. So use strips if you can. Just make sure you check the expiration date on the strips. They all have expiration dates on.
These we normally will just use on the winter service. We actually have the machine.
Yeah, we have a computer test.
For the homeowner, the
Aqua
Check 7s.
Now this is professional. Because this has all the different readings on it.
Get those.
If you can afford to get these are not cheap, but if you can afford to get these, AquaCheck 7s. Okay? 7 different readings, that's why the 7. I'm telling you, these will change the way you look at your pool. So easy to read, but you have that free chlorine, or that total chlorine reading. Not all of them have total. Okay? Now that you know what total chlorine means, and the difference between free and total, and now what non-chlorine shock is actually for, you may not waste as much regular shock or as many tabs, because you're going to be using, if you use non-chlorine shock, you're going to reactivate what's stuck in total. Your total won't be ridiculously high. Okay? That's our tech tip for today. We will go over what the sun does. That'll be another video. We have a ton of videos coming. Keep checking back. Follow all of our pages. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all our other pages. We have a ton of videos we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing one of the next ones we're going to do maybe today. Is how to get the most suction out of your above ground pool without changing anything. There's just one thing you got to stop using. We're going to show you how to do that. You're going to get direct suction from the pump without changing anything, except for you not using one thing. We'll show you that later. All right, guys. Everybody have a good day. I hope this video helped. Don't forget to subscribe to Cvpoolpros 16. That's our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Cvpoolpros. Everybody have a great day. If you need to get in touch with us, cvpoolpros@gmail.com, or text Tammy at 610-780-3614. If you do need to call her for just a general question, it does not require us to have pictures, which it probably will still, but you can contact her. If you do call her, make sure you leave a message or you will not get a call back. But I will tell you, the majority of stuff you're going to ask us, we want pictures of the pool, a picture of the pool, and a picture of the filter system first before we give you out any information. It just helps us give you more accurate information. Okay? All right, guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to everybody soon. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the support. Have an awesome day and have a great weekend. Later.